be a subject that shot at another subject, and the subject that was shot at ran over the suspect with the vehicle. OSP is en route.
He's got a shotgun. Do it! 619 shots fired. Suspect is down.
The grass fire up by the water treatment plant going down in Oxford, and it's going to go quickly, and we're getting inundated with calls.
Welcome to the Scanner Group Crowdsourced Crime and Safety Podcast with Ryan Mallory and Jared Bannery, coming to you from ThiefHunter Lab Studio near the Oregon-California border.
I'm Ryan Mallory.
And I'm Jared Bannery.
Hey, thanks for being here. And today we have David Stepp with us. David is from Rogue Camera Guys. That's his business. He owns it. And they install very nice security cameras and residential and commercial. What would you add to that in a 30-second? What is Rogue Camera Guys? They're pretty badass, honestly.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you guys for having me. Pretty much we like to give you peace of mind without a subscription. You know, we base our company on not charging a monthly fee, and I think that resonate with a lot of the valley here and a lot of our local clients. They don't want to have that monthly constantly income every day. It's something they own, and then we can help them maintain it as well.
Yeah, that makes sense for sure. And we wanted to have you on today to talk about cameras because we work with so much surveillance, photos and video from different places, commercial and residential and whatnot. And we kind of wanted to talk to a camera expert because a lot of our members, I don't know, what do they say, Jared?
Well, we post the pictures of our thieves looking for ID, and we'll get the comments, well, that's grainy, or is that a tat on his neck, or, you know, and it's just, I have a general idea, but I'm not a camera expert. And
sure.
So we'll be.
It's not like these thieves are swinging by for a mugshot. Hey, I'm right here.
Yeah.
Peace. Yeah. So what's the difference between cameras? There's so many different kinds of cameras.
I mean, you have your cell phone camera, you have a video camera, you have GoPros, and you have security cameras. I mean, I wanted to say the numbers in the astronomical millions and millions of cameras that are recording at any given time. You know, I've read a couple facts and figures about that type of stuff. That everywhere you go, you're on cameras. I'm like, well, not Las Vegas for sure, bigger cities, inner cities.
Fahrenheit 451.
Yeah.
And then George Orwell's 1984, Ray Bradbury, cameras everywhere. We made it. Is that good or bad?
You're there.
In this case, we're talking about cameras for good, though.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's just like when I say the evolution of a cell phone, right? Before, it was so cool to actually get a camera on a cell phone, and now they've evolved to where they have 4 or 5 different lenses. Yeah. And I think that's integrated now to security cameras as well. The lenses are just getting better. The images are just getting sharper, and then, you know, we're able to utilize that to mainly identify people.
It's amazing how mundane a camera can be. My first security camera at my house was, we're going to be gone for the day, and I was worried about it, and I had an old cell phone plugged into the wall with certain kinds of apps on it where I could get to it by IP, and I'd charge it, plug it in, and I could tune into it anytime I wanted. It would not give me a ding when somebody's walking by, but if I was concerned, I could still check that out. That was hard, man. Things are pretty easy to use now.
Yeah, they've technology has come a long ways. I mean, I get stuff sent to me all the time. You'd be amazed of all the technology sent to me. I mean, I've seen cameras before in cell phone chargers. It's just something, I mean, in light bulbs. I mean, you just, the tiniest lenses will just produce a beautiful picture, and you don't even know the camera's even there.
But they're not all beautiful pictures, and there's some different grades of camera there, and the cell phone may have a great picture, but you're not going to use it for a camera these days if you really want to have it recorded and use it for, like if your house gets busted into, to give it to the cops. And commercial cameras, and usually most commercial places, if they're really going to catch the thief, they need something good. And I hear like 4K. What's that mean to us?
I mean, we always say, I compare it to we have to start from the first gen, right? Like a black and white TV. Now we have like full color. That's essentially what 4K is. I think the 4K line is like, to me, the top of the top. It's kind of the best of the best. And that's 99% of what we deal with in our company is, since we don't charge monthly, we try to put in the most clearest, crisp cameras, because whether we're protecting you from liability, or we want to know what's going on at home, or just anything. I mean, just simple protection from your home. Like, hey, I want to know if someone breaks into my car. I want to be able to see something on them that could possibly identify them.
Nanny cams and that kind of stuff, even indoors,
sure.
right?
You'd be amazed.
Who's watching your kid? That's pretty damn important.
People, every day we deal with, it's 3 different types of requests, whether it be liability for insurance, like at an industrial place where you're dealing with heavy equipment, or it's the worried parents right now during COVID that like, hey, we just like to keep an eye on our kids. We have teenage, kids that we don't want boyfriends and girlfriends sneaking in and out.
They would be in school.
Sure.
No shotgun weddings with a camera around.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I used to tease my kids though, and I used to always ask them. I said, "Are you getting your stuff done?" They're like, "Oh yeah, Dad, we're getting it done." I said, "Well, I'll check the cameras when I get home." Oh, the look they got on their face, and they would be looking around the house, and I would, "What are you looking for?" "I'm looking for the camera."
Thank God
kids
Dad didn't have those.
Your kids probably thought you were in the CIA. Yeah, I don't think I ever recorded you guys.
No, you didn't. You didn't.
And thank
Your son's pretty happy about that.
Really? What would I know? Don't tell me.
There's nothing different. I'm just kidding. It's just weird.
Really, Dad, you didn't miss a thing.
So when you're talking about an old TV, and if you get really too close to an old TV, you can see the pixels. You can see the little squares. And, that's what I see when I'm looking at surveillance. I either see a picture or I see a bunch of squares. And sometimes I know that's the product of using good cameras, but what you're trying to get might have been in a corner or far away and you had to zoom in on it. You'll get down to the pixels in anything. Sure. How many are there is how much clarity you're going to get in the faces, right?
We deal with this every day, sadly. We shoot to where whenever we install security cameras that you're becoming less of a target. But then again, you have to make the necessary steps to make your property really, I'd say, less of a target than other places. I'm always a biggie in like
lighting.
Lighting is number one. Yeah. Locking your door. I still today have a reminder on my phone at 9 p.m. Did you forget to lock your car? Because sometimes in the hectic of our day, that one reminder is like, oh, we should lock our door because crimes are.
We've published that before.
Yeah, we get during the holiday season. We start teaching people how to protect themselves from becoming a victim.
Sure.
Not allowing yourself to be an easy target because, these tweakers, they don't work and they don't sleep. So they're out and about 24/7.
They work hard on taking stuff from you. And it's easy to get complacent too. Everybody's got a lot going on in their lives and things like that. And I've thought before, I always lock the door right before I go to sleep. I'm usually the last guy up, or if I'm not, I just go lock all the doors anyway. But there's been times that I've been laying up in bed thinking, I don't really want to lock the door. And then, damn, scanner group stuff starts playing through my head. I go downstairs and lock the door.
You allowed yourself to be a victim. You should always lock your door.
Oh, yeah, the victim shaming.
Yes.
Shaming. It's crazy because I actually got into my line of work because I was a victim. And I thought I lived in a beautiful neighborhood where every neighbor knows every neighbor, and I realized that those are the neighborhoods that are most commonly targeted for us because it's the people that like to leave their garage open, and it's nothing against us. We're just doing what's human right because we want to believe that everybody's out. However, car prowlers usually travel in groups, ones or twos, and they hit sections of neighborhoods at a time. So all they're doing is typically, most of the time, and I want to say all the time, is just trying door handles. And they're moving along from car to car, very sleek in and very sleek out. I mean, there's a science to what they do. So we have to adapt to that science and really try to teach people that, like, hey, even if you don't have cameras, there's things that you can do to become less of a victim.
There's some psychology there for sure.
Oh, for sure.
They catch guys with backpacks full of stuff. It's literally every car charger, every pen, every stick of gum, every CD, whatever they could get, and they'll bundle those up and sell those things on the street or whatever they can do to get a couple of bucks. It's probably $30 to $40, and somebody's getting high. It doesn't take much to get $30 to $40, but if you do it all in one night, you might get by for the week.
Yep. And the big thing is when I was on patrol, I would always carry one of those little walkie-talkies around and scan on them. Mm-hmm. And we would actually get guys on walkie-talkie frequencies that are watching for cars.
Throw me that, Addison. Right there.
It's a good throw.
One of those. Yeah.
Yeah, the little home walkie-talkies, and then you would actually able to sit and listen. And then as you're listening to what these kids are saying, you're trying to figure out where they're at. Because as you're coming down the street, they're saying hide. They hide. I don't see any car lights on, and so I patrol through the neighborhood thinking all is hunky dory, and then I go through, and then they say clear, and then the guys.
So they're doing little FRS radios and that kind of stuff, hunting headsets.
Basically. Basically, just ways to communicate with each other.
Did you ever find in your patrolling days as well is where they would actually keep a scan, like a for police radio scanner on them as well to looking out in case there is a car prowler? They know. Did you ever run into those type of scenarios?
We would find scanners on people, but usually the scanners were. I hate to say that I'm old, but the scanners were just kind of the scanner age was just kind of developing when I was out there.
They were kind of big.
And it cost a lot of money. Usually we would have the drug dealers had the scanners in their cars.
Oh yeah.
You would hear the scanners going.
Get the bigger guys back then that way.
Yep.
Yeah,
now, if I'm correct, everything goes through. A lot of it goes through an MVC, huh? Their laptops, their
the
patrol
MDTs
cars,
and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so.
sure.
Now, the question that I have is we often get people making requests. I'm looking for a home security system.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
What would you recommend as an expert that someone would buy to secure their homes?
Well, I always tell people there's a short-term solution, something up right now, and there's a long-term solution. And I like to tend to think of long-term because your home is your best investment that you're ever going to make besides your family. It's the biggest thing financially you're going to pay for. So I always try to tell people a hardwired system is the way to go. I like to run a network cord, a Cat 5e cord. It's fire safe. It's perfect. It can handle data a lot better. That's what I love to install myself. It's safe for your home. And then that way you can just install a beautiful 4K camera, and you can buy the cameras here locally for cheap.
It's stored on a hard drive or DVR kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, sure.
Which, when I was looking at cameras, then I own the video. It's not I like the cloud. I do lots of work in the cloud. I have accounts all over for those kind of things. But, I mean, if you buy the stuff, you still get the video. If for some reason you can't pay for an account to access it and that kind of stuff is the ticket, right?
Oh, yeah. So it's whenever you buy a system, it comes with a DVR or an NVR. It's just something it records to. I highly recommend against saving to the cloud. It's just me personally. I've seen a lot of different stuff. Even I can know your password. I couldn't access that system remotely unless I knew so many other different parameters, which we don't ever know. We don't ever access that information. So that's a biggie is people I want to make sure that I'm safe because when you there's a difference. These cameras here are all hardwired in, and I'll just pass these guys around. These are different ones that we use for residential, commercial. And they're just a great. I'll explain a little bit about the cameras. They're a great metal camera. They have different types of lenses on them. The one that Ryan's holding here has so many different technology fields in it. This will record at 30 frames per second at 4K. So it's a very crisp image.
That's pretty good. We because we upload it to the internet, we don't want to record at too high a frame rate when we're recording this podcast. And we're recording at 24.
Sure.
Because that's good for YouTube and Facebook and that kind of stuff. This is way better than that.
Yeah, so it's another part of too is what he's holding. This company makes what's called a vandal-proof lens. So these are actually made to be struck, and they actually show a hammer striking these. The only thing you might do to this is maybe scratch up the paint and maybe knock the camera out of whack. But then again, the moment you get close enough to a 4K camera,
hit it with a hammer.
We're gonna get you. We're gonna get every description about
it's
you.
Over. As soon as you're there, it's over.
We like to think so. There's a thing called the scanner group that we really rely on, and of course our officers on the front lines there. But the one that Jared's holding wood over here, this is one that is local. You can pick up at a Costco, and it actually produces 2 lights out of it past 5 p.m. So it's automatically set to that, and it'll actually produce whenever there's motion. It will shine 2 bright LED lights on you to that general darkness of an area. And what that does is we react humanly to a lot of lights. So when someone shines a light up, it's our natural instinct to kind of glance up at it. And then it's like, oh no. And then we typically get the mask pulled up over or the beanie pulled down. The whole goal is we want them to might think to that half a second to uh-oh.
Too late.
The little late dance.
Too late. You're mine.
That's hilarious.
One thing I try to always educate our clients on is, we're gone from home quite a bit now. Sometimes people are at home. Now we want to know who's at the front door. And these cameras now, especially that one, you can talk through the camera as well. And that's really important now due to COVID restrictions. Or you can
some fun
activate
with
a
that.
siren if you have a mother-in-law you don't want to have come over.
You can
or-
have some fun with that.
no offense against any future mother-in-laws out there. So
Yell at my dogs to come back to the door so I don't have to go bring them back in.
yeah, it's like I said, there's just so much in the cameras. I always say, call us because we come out for free. We don't, and we just educate our clients because the number one thing we get the most is, I bought this camera set on Amazon that says HD, and they don't realize that it's the wrong type of cord. Where is it recording to? Is the DVR rewritable? Meaning you have to fill it up. All these things matter when you're putting this stuff in a home. The most common ones are Ring and Arlo. They're well advertised. Amazon owns both companies.
Yeah.
They're great cameras, but once again, I like something that's constantly powered because whenever you go Wi-Fi, even though these ones are great for indoor, a lot of people use them for outdoor, but I don't like that. I mean, that's just me personally. But what's great about these ones is that their simplicity is easy to put up. I mean, you can literally just slap them up in 15 minutes. What I don't like is if your internet service or something were to go down, those cameras are then no longer in effect. Yeah. So you want to make sure that whatever you were putting in your home, it's for that purpose. Meaning,
I love wireless gear, but when I started looking at cameras,
you want wired for sure.
I didn't want wireless because I might get a notification, or I may not know or remember that the batteries go bad after a certain number of years and they need to be charged. I looked at solar and stuff like that. It doesn't look like that stuff lasts very long outside. Something in a case like that is what I ended up with. Speaking of cases, what the hell's that? Is that like the Moby Dick of cameras?
Yeah, so this is kind of like the highest end that we installed. This guy actually has a 20-time motorized zoom on it. I mean, it can reach out there. We actually had a home on Hillcrest, and they wanted to follow the airplanes in to and from. And she's like, I want the best camera you have. And I was like, oh, okay, we can do that for you. And then she decided it's a little too big, so we went down to a smaller PTZ. Now, this is called a PTZ camera. It's pan, tilt, zoom. And the operator can actually spin this 360 degrees, zoom down. These are good for industrial, Home Depots, Lowe's.
That's good for a casino.
Correct.
Yeah.
Loss prevention loves these because that way you can actually track the movement of a person of interest if they're showing signs. That's more to my mind there to the
Zoom
right
in
side.
on them, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, sure. And it's reaching out in parking lots because the whole goal is if we can't get something like a plate or something value, we want to know the description of your clothing because the one thing about one of the greatest things about social media is that the moment we post it, it is electrifying because I think he likes that one.
One of those on my flagpole.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I got R2D2, and then you handed Jared C3PO, and then you went straight to the Bearcat and loaded around.
You know, it's crazy because people are like,
heavy.
Why don't you have these hooked up at your home? And I'm like, you know what? I have this guy way here hooked up to my home. It is a fantastic camera. It does what I needed.
The right thing for the right job.
Sure. You know, and it's just back to where you guys, I want to touch a little bit about the technology field. It's when someone tries to zoom in on an image, what you're doing is even say if I have this camera that's recording a 4K and you have a 1080p TV or less, the isolation is not going to match what this recorded. Right. So what we can always do is download this to a flash drive and actually play it on something with a lot better resolution screen. The worst thing we can do is try to zoom in on it because it starts to get pixelated. It doesn't mean your camera's bad. It just means that one of the others doesn't match up.
It's no different than if you have a real SLR camera with real lenses and you're dialing in those real lenses, it's letting everything in, you're getting crisp. When you zoom in with your cell phone, you guys know it gets distorted the closer you get.
Now distortions.
Because it's digital zoom. Yeah. That's the difference.
Distortions. I have posted countless attempt IDs, and I love our members because they study the pictures. They're studying. They're looking at facial features and eyes, and that's why we use the scanner group the way that we do because we have so many. What do you call them? Sleuths.
They're like us. They want to get a fool for it.
Yeah, they want. They want to hunt, but you'll get people saying, "Is that a tattoo on the neck? Is that a tattoo on the arm?" And a lot of that's pixelation.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you touched a biggest on what we deal with is we deal with clients all the time. Like, yep, they got a tattoo, and I'm like, No, it's because you're trying to zoom down on that image, and with the camera, if it's not a motorized zoom or if it's not a highly sufficient enough camera, you're just distorting it. So what you think you see is actually the pixelations from the TV that can form into a tattoo, a small one.
It made 5 arm hairs into 6 black pixels, and now you got a tattoo.
Sure.
And it's, and I have to admit, I've been thrown, with pixelation, because they'll send us pictures and we'll play with the picture and we'll try to zoom in and we'll try to figure out, because each store has a different system. I mean, not all the stores run the same system. No. So I'll get video sent over, and then I'll try to zoom in on the person, and the guy's got a neck tat, and then someone gives you the ID,
and you're like,
and you're confirming. It goes, well, he doesn't have a neck tat, but that's him.
His face.
That's
where'd the neck tat go?
Yeah, and then it's like, okay, so it's a pixelation issue that we're dealing with. A lot of times.
I mean, we're adjusting stuff. We're not trying to. I mean, I can zoom in really far in Photoshop, but it's not going to increase the quality of anything. Usually I'm trying to adjust brightness, contrast, not so much shadows, because I don't want to distort the picture. It's not like what we're passing over is probable cause, but I want a good ID off of it, so I don't want to make things that aren't there.
I think for us, as all three of this table, is we all agree on one thing. No matter what, we have an end goal to identify this person sooner rather than later. But I think what Jared and Ryan touch on is there's certain characteristic thing. And the number one question we get asked most is, well, everybody's wearing a mask. I'm like, correctly. But I have lately, including recently, I can't quite talk about the case because it's still, it's still criminally out there. But we were actually able to identify the person based on their specific mask. And that to me was just kind of a chuckle, because we kind of chuckled. We're like, we only know one person that wears that mask, and they went there and they found the property of interest that they were after. So we always try to, if it's the one thing, because you can conceal your face, but if we can get your jacket, the zipper count, or that, a lot of these great officers, well, actually are great scanner members. These guys are like, they track these guys down. They're like, there's the guy wearing that same jacket with that same pants. Yeah. That's who it is, because thieves typically, people don't realize this, is that the counter thieves, they don't typically change their outerwear.
There are still some characteristics too, even with a mask on.
Sure.
People's brows, people's hairline, definitely their clothes. I mean, guys that steal stuff tend to wear the same kicks a lot too. So you look at their sneakers. They're mass marketed, but what's the chances that the guy with the same ears, same brow, and the same sneaks?
Well, that's enough to warn yourselves. Probable cause is enough, right? We want enough of a probable cause, because sadly the thing that I look at and I try to promote, and we'll talk a little bit about Scram here in a minute, is whenever I get called into a residence, is we didn't install their cameras. Like, look, I bought this security camera system. We had a break-in, but we don't know how to access it. We don't know how to go back.
Right.
And we deal with that every single week, every single day. And we're going in there, and we realize that, there's a lot of things that we can cover up. There's so many things that we can do differently, whether it's
my dad did that. He got cameras, he installed them. He did a good job and everything. I helped him get them all set up, and he knows how to look at it on the screen, but not get it off or zoom in on it or things like that. So I have it on my phone, and I can look at their house, and that's how we, caught somebody stealing his political signs and posted it for fun. A little annoying, but it looked, silly. But he doesn't necessarily know what to do with all that. It's the security of having it and knowing it's there and that the stuff is working.
Yeah, and I just touch back too as far as like PCs, because everybody's like, even the most 4K camera, someone can do a really good job concealing themselves, but it's just that one member that knows something specific about either the vehicle or that person that just they'll know, like
Billy has that sticker in his back window.
It just shocks me every time, because listening, I'm thankful enough to where I get to work with these great officers on a daily, and they begin to tell me these stories about like how this camera. So my number thing is, if we can switch over to Scram a little bit.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
So Scram is a mapping program through Medford Police, and when I ever tell people to sign up for Scram, they think automatically, like, I don't want Medford Police to have, or police department to have access to my cameras. Well, they don't. That's a lie. It's just not the truth. So what Medford Police does is you can go on their website after you get any cameras, whether through us or anywheres, and on a website, you tell them like, hey, I have cameras at this house. And what that does is, say if there's a break-in in the area, the officers there or the detectives there are able to pull up their phones and be like, this person has cameras and they live 3 doors down, because the number one thing we get a lot is the one person that has cameras on the street and they did a burglary 4 houses down, but they parked their beautiful car right out in front.
Right
and we
in
have solved some mass burglary cases based on that, because people don't realize you may not be benefiting just you and your house. You could be benefiting your neighbors.
And you get to give them the video, or they can come get it if you'd like that help.
Sure.
But nobody's looking at your cameras through this program. But what you do get the benefit of is you get some satisfaction knowing that if you're registered for it and your neighbor down the street is, it could turn about to you being helpful to you by registering your camera like that.
Yeah, and they also send you a really cool sticker, which this is what I received.
Yeah.
I'm in the city of Central Point now, so when I'm a little different. But they actually really send you a really letter. But I think this just helps because whenever there's an incident, and I always go back to the girl in the towel. And we talk about the incident where it was scary to see, where she was obviously wanting for help. Nobody in that entire grid had cameras besides the one doorbell. Damn. So what we did is with that Scram program, they were actually able to create a mapping around there and realize that person didn't come to or from, and then ultimately the people stepped forward and did the correct thing. But we use those incidents a lot when I go back to when I first started this business and I was blessed enough to do a church. And there was these guys that were from up north that stole a vehicle. One of them was wanted on some severe charges. He's going to be doing a lot of years in prison. And they came down here and they did a home invasion. But the worst part about it is they parked in the church just after these cameras. We were able to get the license plate. That car came back stolen. Thanks to a keen-eyed police officer, they were able to locate that in the South End of Medford at a Motel 6 and take those persons into custody.
Yeah.
But that one vehicle description then alerted the Washington authorities, the California authorities. So I tell people all the time, even though you're putting in cameras, and God bless you for that, you're helping more than just your surrounding area. You're helping all your neighbors out. We love to have neighbors because we give group discounts. Hey, get your neighbors to what's called piggybacking. And so all cameras are pointing at each other all the way down the street.
I get to see neighbors work together on that because there are certain places that are their drug houses around the valley.
Oh, sure.
And I got a little group of neighbors together that coordinate and track and record license plates. And when they have a lot of cameras, it's amazing. Things go by like, did you see that girl? She was totally strung out when she walked out of the house. I think she drove. I think she got in that car, but I couldn't quite see it in my camera. Next neighbor down, I got her on camera driving away. I'm calling the police.
Yep. Yeah, you can touch. I'd like you to touch a little bit about that as far as like things. I call the list of the 10 things to know, and I always say know your neighbor, right? Whether you get along, because a lot of times we deal with cameras where there's neighborly disputes. Neighbor's over in my yard, he's over, and it's just back and forth, and the police are like, it's a civil matter, get him on camera.
Yeah.
But then the good neighbors are, if there is that drug house, you're able to do a lot more with. Nobody wants a nosy neighbor, especially a drug house. Mm-hmm. And we've dealt with that here locally, thanks to you guys. I'm not going to mention the name because I'm sure everybody's aware of it. But nosy neighbors are the best neighbors because they know your traffic patterns. Like, hey, that's a weird person out in front of your car. And that's a weird person there in the neighborhood that's not normally there. So I always say, know your neighbor. So and I think you can touch a little bit on that as well.
Well, it's the neighborhoods that are where people isolate themselves are the highest crimes. Where most of the crimes are occurring because nobody's watching out for each other. It's people go into their homes, they shut their doors, they lock everything up, and they pray that their car doesn't get broken into. You know, but it's the neighbors that I know that my neighbor down the road has 2 teenage sons. These are the vehicles that they drive. I know what time they usually come home from work. You know, they're out of town, so I'm going to go down and pick the papers up out in front of the house so no one knows that they're not there. You know, it's when we watch out and we care for each other is when the crime really starts to reduce.
Yeah, I mean, I always tell people all the time, it's the biggest thing you can do is just know your neighbor and work together. I love to see neighborhood watches form. I always try to just show up and support them because I'm not in it for a business. I'm in it as a citizen as well because we are all dealing with it right now as property theft. In my personal opinion, it is gonna rise, and that's just based on realistic statistics with addition there.
So let's let's look at a few things.
Sure.
We're gonna put them up here for the members, but we have some cold case files that are commercial theft, and we got the commercial ones out. It's the end of the year. It would be nice to close some up, and then secondarily, it's usually a little bit better video when it's commercial if they haven't got the 4K cameras going on residentially. So this first one, and I put some fun names on them. Bearded Bandit here, because I can definitely tell he has a beard and some glasses. But Jared, you work with most of the businesses and the commercial theft cases and that kind of stuff through stores that we have in a group and around the valley that want to participate in that. What's up with Bearded Guy?
Well, Bearded Guy, and just before I talk about Bearded Guy, I think everybody needs to understand that most of our retail stores and our small stores now, we're starting to team up.
Yep.
Because my thieves are their thieves. And when we chase a thief out of one store, that store is calling the other stores saying, this is what they're wearing, this is what they're doing, they're coming.
Headed your way.
And we're making life difficult for you.
I love hearing that they left one store and they got busted in the next one.
That's right. Damn. Now, Bearded Guy, I got to watch the video on this. Bearded Guy, and it was with the hand tack guy.
Oh, okay.
They were together. They came in at the same time. They come in through the store. They start selecting their items. The hand tack guy he was the passive one.
Okay.
He's the one that kind of stood next to the cart. The bearded guy was the one that was kind of in control. But little does bearded guy know that when he comes in a t-shirt and leaves in a sweatshirt, and he doesn't stop at a register, okay. Well, basically, to make the long story short, they come in, they steal a couple $100 worth of electronic headsets, Beats,
sellable stuff
for dope. The hand tack guy was the one that broke the packaging, left it behind one of the shelves. Now, here's the funny thing about the packaging. More loss prevention is now with their camera placements are able to track with the location that the packaging was left at. So for all you tweakers out there, when you leave your package, thank you, because you're giving us evidence to convict you.
Right.
So and a lot of the packaging that they break when they're in these stores, it's too big to conceal.
Yeah.
So they have to break it to try to make it smaller, and if they're stopped, then they could say, well, I brought it in, or I was trying to return it,
right.
So on and so forth. And the cameras don't lie.
Yep.
The cameras don't lie. Bearded guy, hand tack guy, bearded guy is running you. I'm just telling you that right now. You're his little bitch. I hate to say that word,
Ouch.
but that's what you are. And we're going to find you. We're going to get you identified. We're going to find you, and we're going to make sure that you're prosecuted. But the bearded guy and the hand tack guy were all in the same group.
And if you guys, we're putting the pictures up here, but if you want to look closer, go to the ThiefHunter Labs Facebook page. These guys are posted in there.
Yep.
So here we go. So I like embroidered bowling shirt guy because it's a pretty snazzy shirt. I look around a little bit online. Heck, the guy could have paid $100 or $125 for that shirt, possibly. Maybe not. But just the same, he's got a little bit of style. He's a San Francisco fan, and I know there's some San Francisco fans further on. Those guys might match up.
Yeah.
Or should that be his first crime? Is a San Francisco fan? Or?
That's what I was wondering. I'm glad you came up with it.
I'm going to get some slack for that, ain't I?
Yeah, definitely.
So, also, looking like maybe he put on a couple of pounds. So I wasn't sure if that was the same guy, but could be.
So what I see here too as well, and this is from my observation, is we got kind of a guy that's going around and stealing from multiple locations, I imagine, right?
He's making a business out of it.
Yeah, sure.
You do cameras, and then he goes and...
Sure. I mean, this guy seems like he's targeting specifically stores, but then again, he may have somebody else that he may dip into the cars in my realm. What's very unique about this guy is his style down to his very unique hairline that comes down for me, his build, something about the way he walks. And like I said, he's a big San Francisco fan. So now you better start wearing some other type of insignia there, buddy, because you're going to get identified based probably on that.
And for the for the viewers, it'll be up here, but we're looking at it on a monitor over here. Notice one hand that's left to us is always in this guy's pocket. And the other one has the Brooklyn strut going on. Yep. You can notice things in video about the gait of somebody's walk. We've had people identified by the gait of their walk. Sure. Some lady said, no, that's Billy. And I always use Billy. Billy's a bad guy in my life, maybe. I don't even know a Billy. But Billy always walks that way. It sticks out like a sore thumb. And then we get to looking, and, man, the picture's Max Billy.
Yeah. The San Francisco guy actually hit the same retail store 3 times in a week and a half. Oof. Very cool, calm, and collected. Once I find this guy and he's prosecuted, I'm gonna compliment him on his cojones, because
right.
He's got some big ones.
Yeah, and he's confident, and he doesn't necessarily look like a tweaker, right?
No.
Yeah. And not that every tweaker looks the same, but I mean, he doesn't look sick. He doesn't look like he's strung out.
Yeah. When I talked to the loss prevention guy that was actually handling the case, said that he had to watch the video 3 or 4 different times because he didn't think that this guy would, just by looking at him, that he would be the type that would do it.
Yeah.
They're getting more. I feel like they're getting more brazen too. They're pushing in. I've seen them where they pushing in car seats and stuff like that. They're making it look like less of a target.
Sure.
They're trying to blend in. Yep. Like I tell you, these thieves now are paying attention to us because they're also watching us watch them. You know, they're paying attention to the scanner groups and stuff like that. When I always tell my clients, we don't want to make them scanner group famous, but we will. That means when we make you scanner group famous, everyone now is going to know who you are. So we're going to force you to do 1 or 2 things after you're done paying your price. Get some help.
Yeah.
Or if you keep going your same route, you're going to have 80,000 very angry people that's going to be calling you into dispatch every 15 minutes. You're not going to live your life.
And if you're this guy and not, and maybe not even strung out, but if you're trying to make a life of crime, man, that's worse to me. Like you're not just doing it because you're addicted and you can't get over the stuff. You're doing it because you think that's a valid way to make a living. You're an ass. Oh, it just makes me mad to see people like that. Show us that next. I call this guy the Scarecrow because, well, it's obvious. What the heck is with this? And you know, he made it in a store, but he's making a spectacle of himself.
Well, with the farming industry that we have here in Southern Oregon.
Oh yeah, that farming industry.
we have people that will come into the area. They'll work the farms. Once the season's off, they're gone. Well, this guy comes in, and obviously the hat's been worn in the sun.
Yeah.
So you kind of put 2 + 2 together. Dude's probably connected to a farm somewhere. Has a very unique style. This is one of the pictures that we got into a discussion about online in regards to tattoos on the chest, which was a more likely than not a pixelation issue. It looked like a buck that was on his chest.
Yeah, or a T-shirt underneath or something.
Yeah,
maybe.
I mean it was real hard to tell. He came in, stole some headphones. Headphones are kind of a big thing at the store. Stole some headphones, more likely than not to listen to while he's out on the farm. Talked to the LP probably 2 weeks after this, after it hit the scanner page. He believed that the guy came back in a different hat.
Oh.
Came back in a different hat, but the same walk, similar styles. When the LP sent me the pictures, we posted the truck online. Haven't seen the guy since.
Yeah, he saw it.
So he saw it. People are aware.
Right, and he probably hawked those earbuds for a new hat.
Probably.
Very unique hat for sure. It's something that stands out in the crowd. I like whoever put the yellow border around it because it reminds me of the yellow brick road, Scarecrow.
Sometimes that's Jared, sometimes that's me. You did that, didn't you? It fits. It's nice.
Yeah, I'm usually red. I like red. But yellow there, it was.
Speaking of red, how about Little Ducky Hunter?
I don't like that he's a Duck fan and in doing this.
I threw that name on there because he's got the Little Ducky from Duck Nation, and he's got a hunting hat of some kind with a buck on it.
It looks like a Milwaukee Bucks insignia to me. That's just to me.
So he's a sportsman.
Yeah, then you can see the insignia on the side. That appears to be the Milwaukee Bucks insignia to me, and you can actually Google that.
Yeah, okay.
And
Thank
maybe
you. See?
do that. So that's just to me. It appears to be.
Yeah.
So we definitely recognize the shirt for sure. It looks like he should have wore a little bigger one, but
yeah, he's this guy comes into the store goes into the electronics section, selects two 8 terabyte computer hard drives, running about close to $200 a piece. So he ran out with about $400 worth of equipment.
Man.
But basically, it was one of these grab and goes, gray Jeep, black rims, waiting out front. Hops in, takes off. The thing that was particularly funny about this guy is, and I'm not going to get into educating the thieves that are watching these podcasts or any future thieves.
No tips.
But there are definitely red flags and signs that these guys are throwing off right before they commit their thefts. And, what we do here at ThiefHunter also is we do go into businesses and teach those red flags to employees. So when they start seeing these things, they can be prepared for probably someone that's going to be running out a door.
So kind of like with body language, right? And like in my experience with psychology, micro triggers and being able to tell somebody's lying, you can also tell that they're super uncomfortable with their body language about what they're about ready to do.
Yep.
You can definitely tell the amateurs different from that, because that's something I see every day as well. There's the amateur that tends to shake a lot and unsure, kind of debating it, and then there's the smooth, calm collective, like we dealt with the gentleman. Well, I'm not going to call him a gentleman, but the person above that was just slid in, like you said, had to go multiple times to see it. There's the beginning
bowling shirt San Francisco fan.
Yeah, there's the beginning thief, and then there's the more experienced one that hasn't been caught. That's kind of flying under the radar. They may only do it a few times a week and then take a 2-month pause and do it again.
And this is just like a big dude, like a couple of other dudes, and like I am, but it almost looks like he has a velour shirt, and I couldn't come up with a good name for him.
What about the original guy with the hairline down that we were just looking at without a hat on, maybe?
Yeah, could be.
See, and that's the one thing that Ryan brought up was he was preparing. Can this guy be the San Francisco guy?
Yeah, they kind of look similar, at least.
That's the first thing. I have yet to see these. So when I first saw that, the very first thing I see, basically when the hairline comes down in his build, the loose shirt. Yeah. To me, that appears.
And it wasn't something I had seen these before as they came through Scanner Group, and Jared was trying to put together like a list of them for before the end of the year, and he posted them to ThiefHunter Labs, and I think probably shared it to Scanner Group, and I wanted to get them for this, so I grabbed all those pictures and I had them all in the same file, and I have it on big thumbnails on my machine, and I could see them all like next to each other, and I was like, these guys are like all similar build, similar hair, similar complexion.
Yep. Same age.
This guy, I think, is a San Francisco fan too, right?
I'm starting to agree with that. I'm gonna contact the LP with this guy, and we're gonna compare pictures to see if.
I don't think Adidas guy is.
Well, you got to think of as well as whenever see you guys is great. What you guys are doing here is, remember, these thieves are also watching you guys, and maybe he's like, my hat may give me away. Let's roll without
if you're
a hat.
watching us right now, I'm sorry, princess.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Well, the guy with the ponytail, after watching the video, they came in together at the same time.
These two here?
Yes, they came in together. And the kid comes into the electronics section, does a quick loop, and then heads out the door to the parking lot. The old man is the one that loaded up about $3,800 worth of electronics and then busted out the emergency
exit.
Yep.
Kid probably waiting to help him load that stuff up fast.
Kid was the getaway driver. So we're assuming that kid's either going to be a son or it's going to be some type of a relative, because there's the similarities,
similar features there.
When it comes to the hairlines, things like that, there's probably going to be a family connection there.
And he had a ponytail, right?
I mean, it almost seems like the same hairline.
Which is, I know
it's behind me, but the same tail coming down to the same receding hairline.
I could definitely see relation for
related.
Sure.
Yeah, me too. I see that. And Adidas.
My question
my
to you
Adidas,
is,
my ponies.
Yeah.
Anybody know what that is?
My Ponies in the
Run DMC. It's a song by Run DMC.
Oh.
My Adidas, my ponies.
My question to you is: do you find typically in the commercial world, retail and stores, is thieves typically will use the emergency exits for these things?
Usually, the emergency exit ones are the big high dollar runs.
They're ready.
They're ready. They're ready to rock and roll. They know what they want. They're coming in. They're grabbing as much as they can get in their hands.
They're going to set off an alarm in most cases, right?
And usually there's a vehicle or something that's out there waiting because they have to throw it in and then hop in their vehicles and take off.
Which is creepy because if they haven't been in that store, that means they went and cased the face first, found the exit, figured out where that was in the parking lot. Sure. There's a lot of planning that goes into being a jerk.
Yep.
Well, not to mention, like I said, you're also setting off the alarm, which can cause another panic and cause people possibly to get hurt as well. I mean, like you said, I've only seen those cases in very severe instances or in a pursuit. Thieves are trying to get out the back of the door.
We have about 10, 15 minutes left on this podcast, and I want to go over a cold case, the murder of a cab driver in Medford, William Huey Huson. And he was working for Valley Cab at the time, and you'll see a picture up here, driver's license picture, I think, that they got from the police, and Medford police had a flyer out on him. This was in October of 2012, and there's been some tips and things like that on it. What do we know off the top of our head here?
Basically, what we know as of right now, and the biggest reason that I wanted to bring this up tonight, and we're kind of letting everybody know that we are going to be touching up on several cold cases, but we're going to be inviting guests to come that are actually involved in the investigations of these cases. But the big thing that I wanted to kind of touch bases with everybody is Huey was a well-known taxi driver, and Huey's wife now has been 8 years plus, needs closure. I know that Huey's mom has been having some difficulties dealing with the loss of her son. The time is now. This is a well-known case. Somebody knows something that is within the sound of our voice, that may be connected to the page, that can bring closure to somebody. It is time to come forward and to end this.
So, what happened was that Huey was talking to two ladies that might be ready to take a cab ride in front of Howie's on Front.
Yep, October 20th.
It used to be a bar. It's closed down now. Yep. October 20th in 2012. Yep. And some guy jumped in the back seat, and white male, and the ladies gave this description because they were the last people to see Huey alive, besides his killer.
Yeah.
A white male, fair complexion, 25 to 35 years old then. Now, so we're talking 8 years later. This guy's 30, 40 years old. Height 6'1" to 6'2", so pretty tall guy. 170 to 190 pounds. That sounds a little thin for that height for me. Maybe not. Maybe average build. I'm not sure about that. Pockmarked acne face, no facial hair, so clean shaven. Wearing a black ball cap, black Carhartt style coat, like we see a lot around here, and jeans. And they're looking, I'm just going to read through this list because it's important. They're looking for the following property stolen from the victim: a brown shaving kit that he used as a large wallet containing $200 to $300 in cash, a pack of Camel 99 cigarettes, a house key with a Raiders tag on it, an Oregon medical marijuana card with his real name on it. This had a tip that came through at that time. You want to tell us about that?
Yeah, a letter was sent to the chief of police. In the letter, the information had normally been disclosed, but in the letter, the initially, before we actually cover the letter, the killer, after dumping Huey's body in the field over off of Hilo and Vilas, drove the taxi to 9th and Almond Street where it was found. This letter is connected to where the cab was found by law enforcement the next morning. Letter was basically that they had seen the vehicle, gave a brief description, that it was dropped off at that location. It's not the smoking gun.
No.
It's not the, this is the murderer.
But somebody knows something.
But somebody knows something. Somebody saw something.
And they wrote a letter in such a way that it was hard to identify them.
Yeah.
It looks like they tried to do it that way.
The block letters, the all capitals.
Concerning. And Almond Street. And Almond Street is tucked over behind the Medford Senior Center. Mm-hmm. There's no bridge over right there. So you kind of have to know where Almond Street is. If you end up on Almond Street, it's an accident or you were going there.
Yep. And that's where law enforcement's kind of said the killer knows Medford.
Yeah.
The
Or lived near there. There's quite a bit of apartments and inexpensive living.
And there are residents that are still living in that 9th and Almond area that probably know who this guy is.
Yeah.
They probably know who this guy is either by, I used to see the guy walking around. I know a guy who's a similar description.
If you know anything at all, if you're the writer of this letter or you know anything at all, let's give this family some closure. I mean, really, go forward to the police. If you know who and why and whatever, write another letter. Give it to the family if you need to. And if you want to talk to me or Jared privately, we keep everybody private if we need to. But if you could give us that information, we'll get it to the police. We just want some closure for this family.
Yeah. The thing that sticks out to me is the letterhead. To me is you guys mentioned the block lettering.
Yep.
And to me, it's the way that the T's are the T overlaps the end. Yeah. It's that many caps and then a clean of a line. To me, it
like
appears
a Van
to be
Halen
someone
logo.
Younger in age. Maybe it's someone that's afraid that they may be in fear for their life. As you mentioned earlier, somebody has to know something, and this is something locally that's stung along with David Grubb's.
Yeah.
This is something stung because this guy was a well-known staple downtown. Yeah. I mean, this is someone that I've sat in his cab before. Just a great guy overall. I don't know what in their right minds would want to harm him, but let's give that family some closure. Like I said, somebody knows something. Even if you don't think that you might know, there was something specifically about that time frame, go forward.
That's a good segue. Next week, we're going to have Ashland Police Chief Ty O'Meara here, and we're going to talk about the David Grubbs case. He was part of the whole case from the very beginning, and he wanted to come here and talk to us about it because we were asking about cold cases, and I mentioned that one, and he reached out to you, and so he's going to come talk to us about that cold case, and we're going to at least try to get these cases out there. It's not like the media hasn't. It's not like the police hasn't. Everybody's been trying to do what they do on it. Now that we have some kind of platform to do that, we want to give these families some time on that. So we're going to wrap up here in just a couple minutes, but I want to talk about a charity, and we'll probably every now and then talk about a charity. Lots of houses burned down in the valley. Estimate about 400 kids lost their homes. Those kids also lost bikes. And there's a nice lady that wants to do something about that. And she started a website and has collected about 50 bikes. And she got involved with talking to the founder of an organization that I'm on a board for called Familia Unida Bike Builders. And they take kids from juvenile detention, Grants Pass, Jackson County, and kids in White City and downtown Medford, and they take kids that are that need a little time from some mentoring adults. And some of the folks on this board, they've been there. They've been in gangs. The founder Rico tells me he was in a gang many years ago, and they've been to prison. Some of them, and they have a heart for kids. They want to make sure that they understand that that's not the way. So they take them for rides on these cool lowrider bikes, and they put some tools in their hands, and they teach them to make bikes as a positive and being around a familia. Yeah. So they're going to have the kids and the team that works on the bikes repair and work on all these 50 bikes for this lady. So we want to have people donate bikes and parts so that they could give more away, because I guarantee there was more than 50 bikes lost in the fire.
Yeah, at least, and I wanted to touch a little bit more in depth to my clients as well, the business owners out there, what they can do more to help with this type of great organization, great program, to know that this is a thoroughly vetted program, to the bikes are going to end up in the right hand, and also it teaches kids some type of mechanical skills.
The kids are going to be there to give the bikes away too, and there's something about having kids do community service. Addison, you and your sisters, when you were growing up, we always had you guys doing some community service. It might have been projects I was working on, and you guys all went to Mexico and worked at an orphanage some summers and whatnot. Do you feel like that gave you a little bit more appreciation and understanding of how easy we have it in life in the U.S.?
Oh yeah, definitely. Especially going to Mexico. That was the big one. You just get to see how bad some places are, pretty much, and you get to help them out, and then come home and realize, wow, I'm really, really lucky where I'm at.
Family and something positive to do. and learning a little bit of a trade. To build a bike is to build a car later, or to become a good mechanic or own a car dealership. Yep. However far a kid wants to go, they all have it in them.
So can we donate bikes that we have? Can we donate gift cards? Can we donate cash?
They're just looking for used bikes and parts, because some of these bikes are going to need to be worked on, so some inner tubes or those kind of things. And you can reach out to Rico, and I'll put all the information in the.
What about any type of cash donations? How does that work?
Through Familia Unida.
Well, I'll tell you what, Road Camera Guys wants to help. We're going to donate $100 cash.
Thank you.
Tonight to this great program, and I want one of our great clients, because we have some of the best clients, to match me on that, and I have something special for you as well. So I appreciate you guys, and I will donate $100 to that, and we'll ask one of our great clients or future clients to match my offer to get these guys rolling.
So we're going to wrap it up. We appreciate you watching. We're coming to you from ThiefHunter Labs Studios, and we want to appreciate Southern Oregon Property Management for the help with that. And you guys have an awesome night. We'll be back next week.
Thanks for watching.
Yep.
Thanks for tuning in to the Scanner Group Crowdsourced Crime and Safety Podcast with Ryan Mallory and Jared Bannery from ThiefHunter Labs. Make sure to subscribe today for notifications about the next show. Visit us at www.thiefhunterlabs.com or on Facebook as Thief Hunter Labs in the search bar.